Welcome to UniqueDrops.com. Ask for it by name. This is your weekly Discourse with me, Dan P., your host, and I'm joined by my ever faithful compatriots, Chris.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, what's up, Chris? You bringing it today?
Trying.
All right, and we're also joined with John.
Oh, I'm definitely not bringing it today.
You
John
never
always does
do.
it.
Anyway, let's get right to it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. A lot of games, a lot of news, a lot of all kinds of things all over the place. So in games, John, we saw a little bit more about Cyberpunk 2077. What are your takes on it from Gamescom?
Well, apparently they ran through the demo. I think they're still playing the same basic bit, but they called out specifically that there's two different play styles in the demo that they've been showing off. One that is more weapon focused and smash through walls, kill people, and the other one, which is my preference for games like this, which is a stealth style playthrough, stealthy hackery. I hope, from what I read, that they pull this off correctly, because that's always my favorite way to play these kind of games. Like the last Deus Ex, I shouldn't say the last one, the one before, when they rebooted the series on the 360 generation.
Did you ever play the sequel?
I didn't play the second one. I have it. I just have never gotten around to playing it. But I enjoyed that game a lot because it actually did allow you to go through
95% of that game.
Yeah, except for the boss battles, which we know were developed in a different studio, so it was a weird disconnect, and you could easily get yourself kind of broken and not be able to progress through those.
Yeah, it's always kind of the dream to, whenever they say you can have a different kind of way to play the game, whether or not you can actually do it.
I want to be able to get through as much of this game as possible without firing a shot, if I can.
I think that's strangely enough, I think Metal Gear Solid 2, I think Kojima, which we'll talk about later, I think that was always the thing about, you could beat most of that game without ever firing a shot, I think.
Well, and with Metal Gear Solid 5,
that was the story back in the day.
Honestly, you could get through that game completely non-lethal.
Well, yeah, you're still shooting.
You're shooting, but you're shooting all non-lethal ordnance and knocking people out, which was...
That's also the funny thing with those games. I don't even know why you have all of these weapons, because it's actually, worse to use all the automatic weapons and everything.
I liked what I saw in the Cyberpunk thing. They showed the character having spider leg kind of thing, and you went and hung off the wall, hacked somebody's gun. Mm-hmm. The non-lethal thing wasn't the thing, because then you cut off the head of the guy that was next to the other guy. But he tried to shoot his gun, and it was hacked, so he couldn't shoot you. So you cut his head off. And I thought that was actually really interesting, and made me more interested in playing it compared to the previous footage you'd seen, where it's just kind of shoot around corners, and here's a shotgun. And I like the variability that I'd been seeing.
That's always my dream.
I'm ready to play that game already. I don't want to read about it anymore. Just kind of want to play that game and see what that game really is.
When is it? February?
No, that's
March.
May.
Is it? Whoa. None of us know. Good. It's next year. Early next year.
May.
All right. Well, John looks that up.
Yep. Moving on.
Go over to Chris. I say moving on. Moving on. Going to Chris. Session. What the heck is Session? Why do I care about it?
Do you care about skateboarding games or skateboarding in general?
Depends.
That's not helpful.
Depends on the skateboarding. I guess I really like Tony Hawk, but I don't know if I want to play Tony Hawk again. And I really like Skate from EA, but I don't know if I want to play their version of Skate again. John, do you have an answer for us?
April 16th, so we're all split the difference.
Split the difference, but I didn't go over, so I wanted to showcase Showdown. Chris.
Session. So the reason this game stands out, one, there's not been a good skateboarding game in some time now, but the way that you control in this game is different, where your right stick is your right foot, left stick is your left foot. So if you're trying to ollie, you press back on your right stick and up on your left stick, and it kicks the board, right? And then so there's then these little combos you can do where you do a half circle and on your right stick and up, and it'll do a pop shove it. Or if you press down and then left on the left stick, it'll do a kick flip. There's you're
Skate was only on the right.
No. So the way you're describing this honestly reminds me of Ollie Ollie, which came out recently. Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2. Well, I should say, you were talking about there having been skateboarding games, but those are old. it's not super. It's not like it's this generation of consoles,
Right.
but that's like
Those
the
are-
very similar style of like that game was that with regards to you would flick the stick in specific directions.
Ollie was like a runner.
Mhm.
This is like
it's
sim
side-scrolling.
Yeah.
skateboarding.
No, I get it.
So the way you move is you use the shoulder triggers to lean, and that's how you maneuver your character. And then you're doing the tricks with the board with your stick. So getting around, it takes a little while to wrap your head around the controls. The only reason it comes up, because I've had a demo build for probably 6 months from a Kickstarter that I did, is because it's going into early access. So I'm getting pretty hyped on that, ready to see what that game actually looks like and get more into it.
Yeah, I think the big thing, it's just going to be like an open world thing like Skate, where you skate to different...
I haven't
Things.
seen what the layout's going to be, so I don't know how to answer your question.
All right, well, we'll know more on September 17th when it comes to early access.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that I beat Remnant.
Would you
Beat,
put 17
quote, unquote-
hours in like 3 days? Because
I'm at 30 hours right now.
And you started last Tuesday?
Friday.
So it's been a week.
week.
1 week.
Yeah, so I think the first weekend, I think I was at 20 hours.
Yeah, that's when I saw you
So-
think Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
You were talking about
And
17,
I think we beat
20
it
hours.
on maybe Tuesday, I want to say, or Wednesday.
What does
Maybe
New Game
Wednesday.
Plus look like?
It's just harder difficulty.
Well, let's start. What's Remnant, Dan?
It's
Oh.
the new hotness.
It's the new. It's Remnant is basically. It's made by Gun Games or something. I think they're called Gun Games. They're guys who made Darksiders 3, and I think they also were former devs of the original Gunsider games. So this is basically. I guess the easiest way is just to say that it's Dark Souls with guns. But it's really like it's a strange game because it's a mishmash of a lot of different games, which somehow makes it really feel original, and that seems like very paradoxical, but like, so it kind of feels a little bit like Gears of War because it's all about guns. Like there's a melee stuff, but haven't really seen a viable way to make that like your primary way of damaging enemies. It's a little bit like a action RPG like Diablo or Path of Exile because you're kind of running through places and getting loot and stuff like that. And it's a little bit like Dark Souls because there's, the stamina meter and there's potions you take and it makes you just walk so it looks like you're drinking the potions in Dark Souls. You go through the Veil of Mist to get to the bosses just like Dark Souls. You sit down at a campfire, which is just like a floating like stone kind of thing, just like Dark Souls. There's, kind of really hard difficulty bosses and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of rolling and dodging like Dark Souls. So it's a really strange, like, kind of mishmash of all of these genres. But it manages to kind of feel really original too because there's a lot of randomness to it. And it's not just like layouts. It's actual boss encounters and weapons and things like that. One of the big ones I noticed early on was there's a whole part of the game that me and our friend David, we played this whole part of the game where we actually fought humans, and that's not really an enemy most of the game. And we found this boss, and they were all kind of post-apocalyptic kind of looking dudes, and they were like, hey, you guys got to fight each other, and whoever wins, I'll let you go, and you can just go for free. And it had a counter for like 60 seconds, and we just didn't do any. We didn't fight each other. And then eventually he's like, fine, you guys are not going to fight each other, I'll fight you. And we had a boss encounter in that. I have not seen that we were playing in David's game. I have not seen that in my game, in my instance of the world, and I have not seen that in our other friend Bryce's game who we're playing with. I've not seen that at all. Not even a hint of it.
Can I spoil a little bit? Something that So Austin Walker, Waypoint, has been talking this game up actually a lot over the last week. That exact encounter that you're talking about, there is a story he tells where you meet a guy in an old helicopter. I don't know if you met it.
Yeah.
If you talk to that guy enough, he gives you a wristwatch.
Mm-hmm.
If you show that wristwatch to the guy you just talked to, apparently there's a totally different interaction that
Wow.
happens. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so you have to talk to the old guy like
First.
a lot. He said you have to talk
Yeah,
to
so we
hear
talked.
every story.
We found that guy. That guy's like a vendor in the game.
Yes.
And then we found that guy, and he was just talking. We were just like, let's get out of here. And then I read after we beat it, I read a little bit about like some of the secrets, and I was just like, we should have just kept talking.
Right.
But there's whole secret stuff in just the first area that I haven't seen yet that other people are reporting. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in that game, and it feels like when people say it's Dark Souls, it feels like every time Dark Souls says like, fuck you, we're just gonna make it harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like this game it's just like, hey, you know what? You want to have some fun?
We're here.
So like
play.
even like there's like potions where you increase your health or stamina and stuff like that, and they last for like an hour or 2 hours, but they last through death. Like they don't take that away from you, so you just get it. You just always have it until the timer actually runs out. So there's a lot of small stuff like that that's just like, hey, we know you want to play the game, and like we're not gonna punishing you is not the point of this game. It is still hard though, because like one of the best things about that game is that like you feel like you're really powerful, and then the game reminds you you can die really quickly.
And I think the other thing that caught my ear about the way it's been described to me is it's somewhat procedurally generated because everybody's opening stage and stages thereafter haven't been the same.
Yeah.
So and the enemies within those stages are pretty distinct.
Yeah, we've seen some overlap just because I'm playing it with two other people.
Right.
So eventually we're gonna have some overlap.
30 hours.
But even reading online, there is stuff that we haven't seen, and there's even some puzzles that we didn't figure out the first time through. Like there's some things where it's just like something is supposed to slot in here, but we don't have whatever it is. We found 2 different puzzles with bells that we're supposed to shoot, and they're both different puzzles, and I have no idea what that's supposed to like. I mean, I think we get an item, but I don't know what the solution is because we didn't find the solution.
I keep fighting the urge to get that game. Everybody's been talking so highly about it.
So I will say it is a vastly different game, single player than multiplayer, because a lot of that game relies on a lot of mobs, especially in boss encounters, because they drop ammo, which you can also have a bunch of extra ammo, and as an item you would get an ammo box, which just refills both guns, because everybody gets 2 guns, which is another like nice thing, right? A lot of games would make it like your small gun has different ammo than your long gun, which it does in the game when you pick it up, but your ammo box just fills both. So yeah, it's a really cool game.
All right,
very surprising.
More Remnant. We'll see if I can fight the urge.
In news of games, I found a really cool article. It was on The Ringer today. Actually, I think it was earlier this week, but I read it today. And basically about an online community that keeps the NCAA Football 14 from EA Sports alive with roster updates, which is kind of cool. It's like the whole Tecmo Bowl kind of thing. Except these guys are not doing it for 32 teams or whatever Tecmo Bowl had, I think, with 31
Yeah, 30.
teams. Yeah, it might have been 30 teams at the original Tecmo Super Bowl. Well, the original Tecmo Bowl had like 14.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But Tecmo Super Bowl. Anyway, but like this is the whole football bowl. I don't know what FBS stands for. What does FBS stand for?
Oh, God.
In college?
The BCS, you mean?
No, FBS is like Division 1.
Oh,
I don't know, they call it FBS. Anyway, so there's like 100 schools in that, and they're updating every one of those schools with new recruits, and they go through all of like the magazines, all of like the top like classes stuff, and then they have formulas to make like the rating stuff a lot easier.
Yeah.
Things like that. They have like ways to convert 100-meter dash times to 40-yard dash times, so they can calculate
in the
speed
system.
and then they go in and they also like make the players look like how those guys are supposed to look like, because you can find a lot of recruitment and things like that.
Can you imagine?
I gotta relate a fun little tidbit here. As somebody who works at Microsoft in Xbox, when the back compat feature was announced, and up until today, I mean, there are still people out there who are begging Microsoft to allow NCAA 2014 to be a back-compat title. And a lot of them don't necessarily realize the monumental licensing that would be required to bring something like that.
I don't think it's even possible.
Yeah, it's not. It's literally not possible.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's legally. Yeah, so a little background. The
Yes.
reason why it's the last NCAA football game is because EA actually made an NCAA basketball game featuring Ed O'Bannon as like one of the feature guys there because he was part of the
UCLA Bruins.
team. Yeah, the Bruins. I don't know if they won a national championship, but they got pretty far. They were like a pretty famous team.
Yes.
Not as famous as the Fab Five, but pretty famous. Ed O'Bannon, the O'Bannon brothers. But they used his likeness in promoting the game and stuff, and saying like, "Oh, you can play like one of the legends of college basketball," and he was never really asked.
Nope.
And not compensated because he was a college athlete at that time. But when they were in 2014, when they were making that game, he was a grown-ass adult. And he was not under NCAA thing. So they sued him, and a whole lot of other people sued them, and they won a class action lawsuit for something like, I think, $40 million.
Yeah.
And but it was divided amongst like 100,000 college players.
Right. It was next to nothing. In terms
Yeah,
of
but
how much each
it
was.
It sent a message
but
to
it basically shut down
college
college
sports games.
Yeah, because it's a fascinating article because they go over a lot of that stuff. A couple highlights that I wanted to point out was one, these guys they have some turnover, like this online community. They have some turnover because apparently every time they come out with the new roster updates, there's a lot of fan reaction that don't like some of their ratings.
Yeah, they said that like local blogs will complain about a 3-star recruit getting a bad rating on his acceleration or something like that.
I will say I did peek into the Reddit a little bit this afternoon just to see, and that stuff wasn't really widespread. That article was actually shared and like there's only like a dozen comments, but they're all pretty positive, and most of them were like like quoting that part and saying like fuck these guys, whoever like these guys are doing this for free,
right?
And like 100 teams and the amount of manpower that goes through like changing all of that stuff. So fuck anybody who criticizes.
Also, this means that people are still having to play on old hardware, old console hardware.
Yeah.
So
I loved how they framed the guy in the opening. They were like, just a normal guy. Couldn't tell you why he does this. I don't know why I do this either.
Yeah.
I just spend thousands of hours every year rebuilding college rosters in a game that's 6 years old.
I understand, because there are certain sports games that... The reason why I kind of stopped playing NBA 2K was that I liked NBA 2K12. And when I played the new one, I'm like, this is different. I don't like this new stuff. I just wanted the thing that I was playing before. I should have just played the thing I was doing before. Problem is, it took like 4 games of that to make me realize I shouldn't buy any more of these games, because every time they come out, I play it less and less because I like that old one. So I kind of get it, and I would love for somebody to go back and kind of look at all of these online communities that are kind of hanging on to an older version of a game. Like we always joke about Counter-Strike 1.6.
Yeah.
There's the Tecmo Super Bowl people. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of
there's
little
Ultima
pockets.
Online people out there. There's all kinds of stuff.
Well, I'm talking about like games that are like dead,
Oh, yeah,
right? Because Ultima Online technically is still
alive. I think.
I think you can still get a
Sure,
subscription. But it kind of showed itself up earlier this year with the City of Heroes thing.
Yeah. Do you think?
Yeah.
So they have to still have online servers active for that game at this point in 2019 for a lot of that stuff to work. I'm guessing.
Actually, I don't know how.
I don't know
I
if they
don't know
still
how
have
it
the
works.
servers up or not. Because if they don't, or if they were to shut that down,
If it was a moddable game, I don't know that they need a server. Everybody can just play single player mode.
although it's
but
weird.
they download the roster somehow.
Yeah.
Right, but that's what I
they
didn't
can
know.
just play.
The
around
weird
with
thing.
roster.
The weird thing to me is that I know the Madden games still have college teams in them,
The recent one.
Yeah, like this
had
last
like
one.
10 college teams, and that's
Was it
part
only
of
10?
the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
part of the story mode.
Yeah, that was the only thing it was,
Yeah.
but they allowed that portion of it to be used.
Well, because
I don't think
because
they
I
use real
because
people.
yeah, because I think that's completely fictionalized, right?
Yeah.
Like you're playing a created guy on that team.
Yeah, you're just licensing Texas Tech instead
Yeah,
of
so you're
the
just
people.
licensing the logo. So
But yeah.
people who want an NCAA football game, they want to play the
Well, because apparently that 2014 one was like a very good game too. Like that's the other thing, is
Those
that it was
games-
highly regarded.
The NCAA football games were always a little bit more fun than the Madden games.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one, until like NFL teams started really doing a lot of like crazy like options and stuff like that. That was the only place you could
Yep.
really do a bunch of option stuff and things like that. Yeah, back when I was really into.
Back when sports were pure,
Man,
and
I played NCAA Football 99, Game Breaker, played all that shit. Like,
before they
I
were
played a
fettered with
lot.
politics.
Oh boy, bring me back to 2K,
All right.
baby.
Let's look at upcoming games because there was a lot of game news this week with Gamescom and all other kinds of things. Apparently, they're just gonna remake all of Yakuza.
All of them. 3 is out. 4 and 5 are dropping like the next 2 months in a row.
I get it because like you're just kind of up-resing these games
Yeah.
and they're selling well now.
Yeah.
Tell me when they're on PC.
Oh.
That's all.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah. I can.
Yeah, I would suggest to play it on PC if you can, because especially if you have a good hard drive, those games have a lot of loading.
Uh-huh.
And granted, the loading in systems nowadays are not as much as PlayStation 1,
Right.
but it's still kind of...
Yeah.
Well,
Kamurocho's
and
not
these
a small place.
and these are also not just re-releases. They're actually adding cut content from the games back into it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. There was a little bit about Ancestors this week. It's going to come out next week, I believe, on PC. And
2000,
I won't be able
2001 the game.
John says no. I was
No,
just
no.
listening to that too. and-
Yeah, John was shaking his head. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll just talk about the game. Ancestors.
I know what it is. I was.
It's okay, John. You can show your disgust.
We don't have to like everything.
No, I'm just wondering what the hell you do in this game.
You level up
Uh-huh.
your primate. So
It's-
Ancestors is a game made by the guy who developed some of the
Assassin's
recent Prince of Persia and then the Assassin's
Patrice
Creed game.
Desoulé.
Yeah, French as fuck dude is making a French as fuck game. You play as a primate at the
This is Citroen of games.
It's Peugeot. It's a Peugeot.
sponsored by the
By the
French
French
government.
government. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really weird and esoteric. And then
This
like,
sounds all right.
yeah, they have like a weird steering
This just
wheel.
sounds like a
Everything
French
sounds
guy making Tokyo Jungle, but only with the gorilla.
God, I love fucking Tokyo Jungle.
Yeah.
I still have that on my hard
let's say
drive.
this primates because
Yes.
because we are
Okay.
evolved from primates. The gorilla is evolved from a common ancestor primate. There were not gorillas side by side with our ancestors.
Remember the Great Ape family.
Yeah, yes. But so you play as a primate, and then you do certain things, and then you level up, and then you evolve, and your next generation. So you're supposed to become early man, I guess.
Was
some
Patrice
point.
Desoulé just playing Evo for the Super NES and decided he wanted to
That
make
came
a new...
up a lot, like in comments and stuff like that. So it's
Why
kind of
not?
it's kind of cool. It seems like very. I don't know if it will be a good game, but it's definitely an original game.
That's what I'm hearing.
Because
Yeah.
there's certain buttons to like listen or like to smell, because you have to like figure out where predators are. and
What's
you have to-
what's the pick ticks out of your mate's hair button?
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how you start. That's how you like build friendship, I guess, and like community and those kind of things. These are like it's kind of like blending. From what I can get, it's kind of like blending a civilization game, a civ game, tech tree with like evolution as a primate. So like it's not like you just mutate randomly. There is
Right.
like a set thing. And then it seems like there's points and experience. It's wild, man. I want to play it.
Yeah.
No, Wild is the other game. That's the one by Mark.
That's never coming out, John. That was. I don't even know if that was actually a playable game. If
Yeah.
that was just a video.
That one's coming out at $40. Remnant's $40. Those are both ones I'm on the edge of just. Like,
All right,
do I
Astral
buy
Chain
these?
is on here again on this list. It is on here for the last 3 weeks. What is new? Why are we? What are we talking about this
They had
week about
vending
Astral-
machines in them. I'm
Oh,
excited
okay.
to see how many vending machines are. This one was a hamburger vending machine.
like actual hamburgers, not like hamburgers
Video game
shaped as
that's-
erasers.
Did you?
No, it's a hamburger vending machine.
okay.
not
So
an
I'm a little
eraser
behind on the
hamburger vending
Waypoint
machine.
episodes. I just listened to the first one where Austin started to talk about the game,
Mm.
and he was not as effusive as
Catch up to the next week.
Okay, does he? Okay,
Yeah.
because he was like, "These are my initial
Yeah,
impressions."
Spoilers
He-
for the
yeah.
Waypoint podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
Austin becomes warmer.
And also talking about other podcasts on
Yeah.
this podcast.
Hey, it's people we follow
we're
in the
fans of
industry.
Waypoint, all right?
Yeah.
That's
All right.
the
Well,
thing.
you're still cops.
Then people are complaining about being cops. These are cops of aliens that are from a demon portal.
Yeah.
This is not a cop.
It's a little being, maybe being too woke.
Just
too
a little
woke-
bit, a little bit.
too
If
woke,
you're shutting
you're
down
awake.
Astral Chain, where you're literally like chained to a demon sword thing,
A robot demon.
and they're coming from a portal to fight, and you're like, but I'm a cop. If you can't suspend your disbelief at a certain level, then we are just not going to see eye to eye on a lot of things.
To be fair, to be 100% devil's advocate, even though I hate that using that
No,
term,
do it.
we do talk about holding games to a particular
Yeah.
kind of standard with the politics and those kind of things. So, you know,
Fair is fair.
you are a police officer.
You're a cop, and
We'll
you're,
see what the actual game.
and you're chaining
Yes.
up these
Yeah, there's
demons
more issue. I have more issue with the concept of
and slapping police on
intergalactic
it.
slavery of these weapons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
than you
interdimensional.
being
Yeah.
a cop.
To be fair again, to turn it around again, like the tone of this game is not Call of Duty, whatever the fuck it is
Right.
now.
Modern Warfare.
Modern
Yeah.
Warfare. Oh yeah, it's just Modern Warfare.
It's just Modern Warfare.
All right, Control. That's coming out next week? Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Coming out soon.
End of this month.
Quantum Break people, Remedy making another one of their games. This one actually looks really interesting to me. Wasn't really too thrilled about Quantum Break, but this looks cool.
Same.
And if anything, what Remedy does best is detail in their world.
Y'all just don't know about good games. I'm sorry. Quantum Break's a fine game,
Mm-hmm.
except the last boss battle,
Anyway,
Okay.
and an even better TV show.
I don't like watching 40-minute cutscenes. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's in 4K or
And
if
that's
it's with
why-
real actors.
that's why you miss-
Kojima, Dan's coming for you.
That's why you missed out on a rich tapestry of a side quest in Remnant when you went, nah, we just gotta keep going.
Oh wow, you did that.
Wow.
You did that.
That wasn't
called on
one.
blast.
It wasn't a side quest.
On blast.
2, he was talking too much. Chicory. Chicory. What is Chicory?
I just want to shout out our friend Greg
Shout-outs.
Lebanoff. He did Wander Song.
Whoop,
and
Is
whoop.
he
then-
our friend?
Yes.
Friend
Yeah.
of the site?
I get a lot of emails from him.
Can we say friend
Really?
of the site?
Nice.
Well, I mean, yeah, I got the code, so I
Oh,
played
okay.
the demo of Chicory.
Oh, you played Chicory.
Yeah, it's very cute. You're just you paint the world, and as you paint the world, things you manipulate them. Yeah, something terrible happened where all the color got sucked from the world, so you're trying to color back in again. It's nice. It's a cute game, and it's going to be fun. And it just started on Kickstarter.
Is that a
so
game
you have
you
like
can play with
23
your-
days to back it?
Is that a game you can play with your kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that he's committing to I'm making games that are not other games.
Yes.
Like Wonder Song was not another game, and this game doesn't
Yes,
seem like
that's-
it's another game.
I mean, as many things as I kickstart, I do kickstart a lot of things that even if they're not necessarily in my lane, if it's with people that I want to see,
Succeed.
continue making games, then that's where I'm gonna go.
All right, continuing on games that are a little further out. Nintendo had. Did they have a?
It was a Nindies presentation.
Yeah.
Nindies
Or
presentation.
Indie World, I forget. I think
Indie
it was.
World. Yeah.
So they had Eastward, which is by the Chucklefish guys. It looks pretty rad.
It does.
It looks like RPG with all their pixel graphic goodness. Don't really know much about the game,
No.
but kind of really don't need to. Just
Yeah.
kind of know what it's about. I
Stardew
can
Valley adventure.
Yes.
I can
type
see what
thing.
they're putting
And that's
down.
right in my lane.
Yeah. No.
I can see what they're putting down. I can pick it up. Skater XL.
Yeah. More skater games.
All right. Risk of Rain 2.
I gotta say, the trailer for that, frame rate was a worry for me in that
It
trailer.
should be.
Uh-huh.
It should be. But I'm willing to at least see what it does.
All right. Risk of Rain 2.
That's
I'd be interested in
I
maybe trying it.
I
don't
played a
think that
couple. I played a
performs.
couple hours of that, and on the
On
PC.
PC,
and
okay.
that's a fun game. It's
Risk of Rain 1.
I loved Risk of Rain
Yeah,
Yeah,
1.
it's Risk of Rain 1
It
and
is.
3 in,
I think
in
I had
third person.
15 hours in Risk of Rain 1 on my Vita, and I would love to play 2.
On
I
your
didn't get it
Vita.
on PC. Yeah, I want to play 2 on my Switch, which is the new Vita. So yes.
Why is Super Hot on here? Super Hot
I
is on
want to see.
every...
I want to see how it transitions into a handheld. That's all.
Fine.
And Super Hot, another game that I want to see people like that continue to make games. So you have to buy it on multiple platforms.
They got to make a different game.
And
they keep
shout out
making
to
Super Hot.
Shout out to Super Hot team that's now doing their own indie sponsorships. They're
Yeah.
funding other
What
games.
was the first game they announced with that?
They have a couple of games.
Yeah.
You can look it up on their Super
I liked
Hot site.
the
Frog
homage.
Detective 2
Yeah,
is the
Frog
answer to your
Detective.
question, and I liked Frog Detective 1, so I'm hyped for 2.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you guys know
Chris
about
with the
this?
deep cuts. No, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I still
anything
that
about
just
this.
reminds me
I'm
I need
too
to play.
mainstream.
I need to play What the Golf because that had that Super Hot inspired level.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it has a level where you hit the golf and the ball and
then
everything moves
wait
while
till it moves.
it
That's
doesn't
so dope.
it doesn't move until you hit the ball and it's got people shooting at you and stuff.
It doesn't move until you move.
Yeah,
Dan.
it's great.
Super hot.
Moving on.
Super hot.
Gamescom had a couple of interesting, I guess, previews, trailers, and things.
Jeff Keighley had the Keighley's, the first ever Keighley's at Gamescom.
There was Maneater, which is the GTA Shark game, which looked rad last year in the PC
I'm hyped.
PC showcase on E3, and it is still not out. So I would like to actually play that game.
Agreed.
But it does seem pretty cool. Shark in an open world game would be pretty cool. Greedfall, there's been a couple write-ups because I think some people are actually getting either press copies or something. But Heather
Alexandria
and Kotaku wrote about it. So it seems a little bit like, I guess, a modern day BioWare kind of RPG, but kind of doing like a, I don't know, 15th, 16th century-isk kind of fantasy.
I hope they handle that
Is
colonization.
this the new Kingdom Come
stuff,
Deliverance, Dan?
Oh, whoa. No, not like
Well, it is it's made by Spiders.
Okay.
So it is Kingdom Come no, not Kingdom Come, the Bound by Fire, those Kingdom, what is the
Kingdom Under Fire?
Yeah, Kingdom Under Fire.
Okay.
That's what I thought you were. No, it's not Kingdom Come.
Okay.
No, this is a real fantasy RPG kind of stuff. They're not trying to be realistic, but
tri-cornered hats.
But it's definitely a different setting than most fantasy RPGs that we see. There's a big old world colonizing new world kind of thing. So I'd like to see what people's reaction to that is. And then they kind of showed a little bit of a game, little game.
Is it a game?
It's something. So Death Stranding had a trailer.
Keighley just went, "Hey Kojima, do you want some time on stage?" And Kojima went, "Yes."
And then Kojima was like, "Let me scan
why don't you guys talk about this? I didn't really follow up on.
I watched pretty much the entire presentation. It was, what was it? It must have been almost a half hour.
Yeah, easy.
Of just Kojima talking, saying, "And now we're going to show you a clip." And then they showed a clip, and then Kojima came back and talked some more. And then they showed another clip.
Yeah,
you
but what did
Mama?
Okay.
Oh, God.
Mama
Who's
has
okay?
a PT baby
Yes, a
who's
baby.
only tethered to her.
What's a PT
No,
baby?
not to her, to the location.
Oh, is it the
That's why she can't leave.
What's a PT baby?
That's a ghost baby.
It's a ghost baby.
Why is it called PT?
I don't know.
All right.
I forget why it is with PT.
They're called BBs. The
It's a-
babies
it's
that
a-
the guys are
No,
carrying.
the BB is the one in the normal world that can sense the PT.
Uh-huh. They're called BBs.
Oh, fuck me.
And then we met Deadman, who's
Uh-huh.
Guillermo del Toro,
Oh, yeah.
and he recharges the BBs.
Because the BBs have to be uploaded and get their firmware updated.
Dude, it got dark. There's like a womb farm.
Uh-huh.
There's just a bunch of people that
It's
pop
the
out
Matrix.
BBs.
No, we're gonna talk about Matrix later.
Yeah. it's
Whoa. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Death Stranding, I can't wait.
And Jeff Keighley is in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is
You
that
run-
what
you-
I got?
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of
His
this
likeness-
through osmosis, so
His
I'm not actually
likeness,
reading.
his likeness is in the game?
Someone else's voice.
Somebody else's voice. Matthew Mercer.
They said it had to do with the unionization.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But all you did is you go to him and you deliver a thing, and then you leave.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe you need something delivered for me later.
And as I posted on the Discord, there was a perfect paragraph that makes me think that Kojima is trolling the entire world with this game. Because he basically went, yes, the goal of this game is to walk from one end of the country to the other.
Drag me, Kojima.
Dude, you can't take anything he says.
It's a walking simulator.
You can't take anything he says for face value.
It is a $multi-$100 walking simulator.
I don't know
Mads
if it's that
Mikkelsen, and there's
$100 million.
World War
I don't
One
know.
tanks.
With that tech
I don't know. I don't know if
and the marketing that's involved with it.
I
No,
don't.
definitely.
Maybe the marketing, but I don't know if the game itself is $100 million game because I don't. I mean, maybe paying the actors.
Yeah,
but
Mads Mikkelsen, it does not come cheap.
Norman Reedus.
Although, some of those guys will do art projects.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Some of those guys will do art project,
true.
and it is
They were
Kojima,
gonna do
especially
PT.
Del Toro.
Was it PT?
Del Toro
Yeah.
plays Del Toro plays video games, or at least he's
He was gonna work. He was
so
working
he
on
would-
one. And
yeah,
then
so he
they were-
would. He would be like, yeah, sure, I'll work with Kojima at like a cut rate or something. I don't know.
I can't wait.
I have a feeling that this is not a cheap game, and the fact that it is going to
It's
be the
not
world's
just-
most expensive walking
It's
simulator.
not a walking simulator because you have World War I tanks and people.
We don't even
shooting
know
guns.
what this
Yeah,
game
what
is,
is this
which
game,
is
Chris?
actually
I can't wait.
which is actually pretty amazing in this day and age. We don't actually even know
That's
what
true.
this game is.
That's true.
I know
And
you've
it's gonna
got a
be-
ladder,
It's gonna be great when it
Big
comes
ladder.
out because whatever it is,
Big ladder.
it's gonna be.
and you can
pretty
control
fantastic.
Norman Reedus peeing. That's the other thing you can take away
The
from that.
president of jack shit.
Yeah, always.
So good.
There's a bladder fullness meter.
Yeah, I always wanted to play a realistic
see his pee-pee,
Waterworld
though.
game.
No, you will never be able to
cannot
see
see his
Norman
pee-pee.
Reedus's.
But a mushroom pops out.
Rounding out game news, PAX is next week. You boys are going to be there. I'm going to be on the other side of the planet, unfortunately,
Yes, sir.
or at least on the other side of the ocean.
I'll be shambling my way around all 4 days. Chris is going to be joining me for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, in their smart move of the week, will go to probably not their best move. They bought Insomniac,
Who makes what?
who makes
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
La-
Spider-Man.
latest release was Spider-Man for the
Spider-Man
PS4.
and the what is the superhero game that they? Not Spider-Man. Didn't they make?
I don't remember.
Did they
Superhero
make
game?
Infamous?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's Sucker Punch.
Oh,
Excuse
Sucker
me.
Punch. All right.
Insomniac is the studio that made the Resistance series,
Yes,
Ratchet and
Resistance.
Clank. They've made Spider-Man. They also made a criminally underrated game on the Xbox called Sunset Overdrive, which is available, I believe, on Game Pass. So
Yeah.
that was a fun game. But now they are under Sony, completely
They might
and
as-
fully.
They might as well have been at this
Yeah.
point because
Yeah.
they mostly
One
made
Xbox.
Sony games, which yeah, and most of Game Informer was laid off.
Over
Unfortunately,
about half of the
half.
editorial staff.
Yeah.
Apparently, that turns out 10% of GameStop
Yeah.
corporate staff.
It was part of
laid
a-
off,
a
you know,
greater layoff.
140 people.
Yeah, that the
Game
company
Informer.
is not going to be around too much.
So it
So
feels like
go to their stores and buy some really cheap discounted stuff.
Go find a replica plasma rifle for cut rate prices for.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seemed like there was a lot of talent on Game Informer that was kind of released, and you got to imagine the amount of talent they had to do to work around, basically a game distributor.
Yeah.
I still find it completely staggering that.
Game Informer was still around.
No, honestly, joke as we might,
the last game magazine,
Pretty
I
much.
think.
but they've only had one editor in chief, pretty much the entirety of its run.
I did not realize that.
Andy McNamara has been running that magazine since its inception, pretty much.
Yeah, I read that in high school.
Yeah,
They
I
were
used to have a
the-
Game Informer subscription.
They were the expensive magazine in high school.
I did too. I had Game Informer when I signed up for my GameStop points or whatever.
Yeah, I never went that far.
Mm.
Going into other forms of media, TV and movies. So D23 is happening this
Weekend, yeah.
Yeah, this weekend. So a bunch of Disney news is going to drop this weekend. But already on Friday, we have confirmation that they're making a Ms. Marvel Kamala Khan TV series on Disney Plus. So big ups. Probably my favorite comic book character in the last 2 decades that's new, and probably in my top 5 right now. You should read her comics. It is pretty awesome. And they're also making a She-Hulk TV series, which is going to be pretty fantastic television, I think, because she is also a lawyer, and unlike Hulk, she does not become dumb when she becomes Hulk. So, as I think AV Club describes it, it's kind of like Ally McBeal if she can also rip apart a fire truck.
I'm here for this.
Yeah, so
I'm more interested.
Yeah, and the comics are pretty good. And then also Moon Knight, which is going to be an interesting one, because
He's got a mental illness, if I remember correctly.
if you don't know about Moon Knight is basically Marvel's Batman, except if Batman had a lot of mental issues and also communicated with an Egyptian god.
Yeah.
to get some of his powers.
I'm lost here.
Yeah,
Moon Knight's a little crazy.
yeah. Moonlight's a little crazy, to use the best term for it, but that's just colloquially, he's just kind of out there.
Okay.
But he's also kind of dark and gritty, so I don't know how much of that is going to translate to Disney Plus.
That doesn't come off as nice.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if what we saw of that the Mandalorian trailer that dropped today,
Yeah. Mandalorian trailer dropped today. It looked pretty fantastic.
Sounds good.
Looked like a lot of nods to some very lesser known things, especially IG-88, which is one of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back. He is a robot. He kind of can spin around, I guess. And we never knew that he could spin around like that.
I mean,
but
it makes
he
sense.
Didn't really do anything in
No,
Empire
he
Strikes
stood
Back.
there and he moved his head a little bit.
Hey,
and
John, who are the five bounty hunters?
So there's IG-88.
Yep.
There's Bosk.
Yep.
There is there's Boba Fett. That's
Yep.
3. There's Dengar.
Yep.
Oh, who's the 5th one?
He has the weird bug face.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I actually can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
I got 80% of them though. I mean, so the interesting thing, Lam Lam,
Yes.
Lorlam,
Yeah, it's something like that. Lam? I think just
Lorlam. Is it? I think it might be Lorlam or something like
Anyway.
that.
Yeah.
But-
Anyway.
There were five
Sorry,
bounty hunters in Empire
this
Strikes
is my
Back.
life, Chris.
Get back here when you're. I'll be here when you're ready.
I think it's Lorlam. You might be, but no. The cool thing about those characters is that they always had this weird like air of mystery, and you're like, whoa, what are those bounty hunters? They all look crazy. That one's a droid. How is that droid a bounty hunter? And then they're actually
Droids have rights, man.
I mean, that droid's a killing machine apparently.
Yeah, programming. It's just programming.
But like they've done good stuff. It'll be nice to see a series that is completely divorced from what it seems like the Jedi mythos.
The main story.
Skywalker
This
saga.
looks like it's set like way in the Outer Rim. Like this is going to be the fringes of Star Wars society. Like that'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I say like I wonder how somebody like Moon Knight is going to fit in is because I guess Disney already has canceled a Disney Plus show that was going to be called Book of Enchantment. It's like a bunch of YA novels, some kind of villain series, but it's supposed to be pretty dark. And I guess the quote was that, or at least per Deadline, said scripts were apparently coming in a bit darker than executives were expecting, presumably on account of all the murder apples and Faustian sea witches deals going on, because there's a lot of fairy tale stuff. So when the Moon Knight stuff was announced, it was kind of like, well, how do you do Moon Knight if you're kind of a little squeamish about some darker aspects?
I'm curious if...
But maybe it was also just not up to snuff.
Well, Mandalorian can't not get too...
Yeah, he is a bounty hunter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's so much laser shooting going on, somebody's gonna die.
So movies, the big news. Well, let's skip that for now. Matrix 4. They're going to make a Matrix 4. What's everybody's thoughts on that, Chris?
It's a Wachowski. It's Neo, and it's
Trinity.
I feel like it has enough pieces there that it's gonna be something I want to see.
What happened at the end of the Matrix?
Keanu Reeves, Jesus, sacrificed himself by letting Agent Smith absorb him, and then it rebooted the Matrix and started the cycle over again, maybe?
I thought it was a truce with the robots.
Yeah, that's what the reset has always been. He sacrificed...
No, this one was different. Usually it reset totally.
Okay.
And this time it was at a full truce and the people... Okay, John. Okay. So you get to go off of fucking 5 bounty hunters and then...
No, I'm not...
No, you didn't... Listen. I don't know. It might be total shit, but there's something there. I hope. Fingers crossed.
I am not shitting on the Matrix, Chris.
This
is from some...
Oh, no, you were shitting on my lore dumb.
Here. I'm gonna say this is someone who Dan will attest appreciated the hell out of the Wachowskis' weird shit, including their Speed Racer movie, as well as Jupiter Ascending, which is them swinging for the sci-fi fences. And
you know what though, I will say the discourse around those two movies, especially Speed Racer, has come around to like, you guys are kind of crazy now. Because like I got it when it was like, oh, this should be appreciated a different way and is underappreciated. But now whenever those things come up, like people are like acting like it's the greatest movies ever.
Oh,
and those
yeah,
movies
no,
are
I'm not.
kind of shitty.
No, the movie itself, like the plot itself, is not great. I just think that is a visually stunning piece of cinema to watch.
The best thing I saw all week about Matrix 4
Oh, yeah?
was what if they just made a shot-for-shot remake of Matrix 1, but just with the actors now, and because it's been rebooted, right? So it would just look the same. Wouldn't that be fucking fantastic? A $200 million movie that's just a shot-for-shot remake?
Yeah. I would watch the fuck out of that.
It's a good version of the Psycho remake.
Matrix 1 still holds up. Matrix 2 mostly holds up. It kind of gets into some weird territory,
fun.
Especially at the end with the architect, but the freeway scene is cool. I'm pretty sure the freeway scene is still cool.
The
stairway,
chateau all the way to the freeway.
The stairway scene probably wouldn't hold up to snuff nowadays because if anything that is weak in the Matrix is the actual fighting, because those people are slow as fuck.
Yeah.
And super basic, because it is a lot of punch, punch, block, punch, punch, tick, punch, punch, block.
The lobby scene was better than the stairway scene.
You gotta get some Chinese fellas in there and start fucking doing some real shit.
Yeah, get the kung
Get
fu
the guys from the raid.
And then as much as charm was in those two movies, 3 was a total wow.
I skipped school to see 3. That was not the right move.
I swore at the end of it. I stood up and went, fuck!
I enjoyed it enough, but I would never defend it.
There was a lot of bad... I like the upside down vampires though that ran on the ceiling.
Yes.
I thought that was a cool thing.
And that was in the first 15 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, and then they did it for like 2 seconds.
Reload.
All right, the big movie news of the week: Spider-Man caught in the divorce of two parents, Sony and Disney.
I hate it when mommy and daddy fight.
Yeah, so
They're at it, I believe. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Dan.
apparently, the deal was when Disney was making the Spider-Man movies, or Marvel, they were basically getting a 5% cut. They were fronting most of the cost and all that other stuff, and those movies went really well. And I think Far From Home went past $1 billion. And Disney wanted to renegotiate and split everything 50-50, even Steven. And Sony kind of balked at that. Which I'm probably more of on the Marvel side just because of my biases and stuff. And I want these movies to be made, so I don't really give a fuck which exec gets how much percent.
Which mega corporation makes the billions.
Yeah, I just want to watch the Spider-Man movies.
That's what I was gonna say.
I want to feel good for two hours in this shithole of a future.
Right, like you said, if we divorce ourselves from CEOs getting fucking paid, the reason it did well is because Marvel handled it.
Yes.
And I think we can all agree with that. Sony Spider-Mans have not been the greatest.
I swear to God, the success of that Venom movie has triggered this.
Ooh.
Because that Venom movie made bank,
That's
and
true.
that was a Sony production.
I swear
I don't think that was Marvel.
That thing flew under the radar and made buttloads of money, and I don't know.
Yeah, it made a buttload of money.
Who watched it?
A lot of people.
So,
most people.
Do you know anybody?
So it's on cable
I
now.
don't know anybody.
And I watched about 45 minutes of it, and
was it a Sony Spider-Man?
yeah, it was Tom Hardy doing a one-man show that had other actors in it.
Now, let me tell you about a different movie where he's only on the phone and he's in a car, and that's the entire movie. Which is fantastic. I forgot what it's called. But, so it gets back to the point of, I mean, it makes sense, right? If you're Sony, why would you want to cut your profits in half when we can make a movie that still makes that much money and we can just own the whole thing?
Because you don't do any work.
I think the more interesting discussion that comes in around this stuff is basically Disney is being screwed by their own past actions regarding copyrights and and the public domain. That's the more interesting conversation here.
Oh yeah. The further conversation about like intellectual rights,
the fact that
forever.
Disney is basically getting screwed by their own lobbying from a few decades ago, where they basically wanted to own things in perpetuity, and they got it. And now they're basically being completely screwed by it because
they're being held hostage by like another corporation because they were not in very good positions in the late 90s. They were under Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and so Sony had Spider-Man, and if you have Spider-Man, you never let that stuff go.
No.
There's
That's
no
why
reason.
they kept rebooting that
But
series.
on a purely fan sense,
Yes.
I would like them to just keep making movies, because honestly, if they're gonna make a Spider-Man movie, even with Tom Holland and most of those principal players, but it's not connected to the MCU, I don't give a shit.
I probably wouldn't watch it in the theaters. I wouldn't pay money to watch it in the theaters.
I wouldn't watch it first weekend.
I might watch it on cable or like you said, like maybe several weeks later when it had, already made all the money.
Because shit is so connected now. I
Yeah.
actually don't care if you're not part of it. I didn't watch Dark Phoenix. I watched every X-Men movie in the theaters except for Wolverine Origins. Ooh.
And that's a bad movie.
And that's a bad movie. And I didn't care about Dark Phoenix because it's not connected anymore, man. They already got X-Men, so they're gonna reboot this. None of this matters.
And to your point about intellectual property and all that, this is like stepping on a Lego to them. They've made so much money owning their shit forever.
Well,
they don't really give it.
It's interesting.
Business-wise,
You mentioned, you said that you heard that Marvel put up the money for this, but I thought Sony was the one like paying for the production costs of the Spider-Man movies.
I want to say,
because that's what most of the discourse I was seeing was mentioning, is like Sony's the one who made these movies. Marvel has like zero like actual money in on this. However, they have a lot of input. They were basically being contracted by Sony to come in and do the work that they were going to do.
And that's why I say,
in that case, then
Sony has to do nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's.
Yeah. No, they basically like.
But they're upfronting the cost.
They are.
So like they should get more of the profit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I think that the deal does need to be renegotiated in some way. I don't know if 50-50 is the right number. 70-30, 60-40, but the reason that Sony made all that money comes down to the fact that they were riding on the coattails of Marvel's work for the past decade and went, oh, this is popular, and our most popular profitable character will make even more money if we latch ourselves to this and allow Marvel to actually craft the storyline
see
for
where
it.
this comes from, right?
Yeah.
Because if you make $1 billion,
and
you make 95% of that $1 billion, you're making $950 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we made $1 billion in the next movie and split it in half, I'm only making $500 million.
Yeah, no.
So if we made a movie and it only made $600 million, I'm making more money because I own it 100%. So fuck you and your 50-50.
Yeah.
But as a fan, if it's not connected to MCU, I'm sorry, I don't really care that much. I really don't. Like, I know that sounds so fanboy, but like, there's only so much time. And like, I stopped watching the Netflix movies when they're like, we're just canceling all these because we're gonna do our own thing, and it's just like, yep, doesn't really matter because all I want to know is how all that stuff connects.
And then they never bother to connect it. Like
if it's not Into the Spider-Verse, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Into the Spider-Verse, you all failed by not watching that. Not you two, but
you failed. You didn't watch that in the theater. I'm
That's
just
true.
saying.
I saw that
Anyway,
multiple
moving to
times in the
anime. Yeah, I saw that twice in the theater,
It was so
Chris.
good.
Moving to anime. Chris's anime time. You got 10 seconds anime time. It's already counting down.
no, it's the anime minute. Give him the anime minute.
No. What's
Redline's
your
free on
anime?
YouTube now. Go watch Redline. It's really good. Made by Madhouse.
Is it a car anime?
Car race in space? So
Okay.
you're racing against weird hovercrafts and.
Cool.
Oh, but are they based on real cars?
No.
Oh.
His kind of is, but barely.
Okay.
That'd be cool if it was like Honda Civic Type R.
No.
He's
But
got
it's
the
like
8.6.
space- Yeah, he's got the 8.6.
Madhouse
in
has
space.
such a good animation style. It's so like if the story's dumb, but the animation's really good.
It's it's clean and it looks really kinetic. I like that animation
the
style.
amount of kinetic energy that it looks like they can add to all it's incredible. So yeah, watch that. It's free. YouTube. Just go watch it.
All right. So moving on to comics. Art Spiegelman, the creator of the, I believe, Pulitzer Prize winning Mouse, which is a comic about the Holocaust in World War II. He was writing an introduction for a Marvel collection. Basically doing Marvel is doing a lot of 80th anniversary stuff this year, as some of my toy figures are. So he's doing an introduction, and he compared Donald Trump in a very kind of subtle way to the Red Skull by naming him the Orange Skull. and he was kind of, I guess the best word of it is he was kicked off of the introduction, and somebody else is going to write it. So Art Spiegelman had a very good article on the Guardian this week that I suggest everybody read, and kind of like the breakdown of it is basically a good FU to everybody who thinks that politics and comic books do not run hand in hand.
I mean, the literal title of the article is like that superheroes were created in the wake of fascism, right? Like that's the.
So I mean, and then to go further onto that, it's like I think it was revealed this week. It's probably known before, but at least it hit news this week that what is it? Marvel CEO is a big Trump friend.
Yeah, I don't remember if CEO or one of the board members.
Chairman. Yeah, it's one of the higher ups. He's like he donates and he's like a big friend.
He runs
and he's
fundraisers for him.
He's also a member of Mar-a-Lago, whatever the fuck that place is called. So yeah, kind of you can kind of see where the through line of that is. But I highly suggest reading his article because he goes through kind of the history of where superhero comics were made, starting with like Superman being made by Jewish Americans from immigrant families, and kind of countering the Nazi ideal of the Ubermensch,
one of the most famous
German and Aryan.
One of the most famous Marvel covers is Captain America punching Hitler in the face.
Yeah, he goes through a lot of that history and stuff like that, and it's just kind of comics and politics have never been divorced from each other. The people who created it were very political, especially at the time, and even when you read the old Marvel comics nowadays, they seem kind of hokey by today's
standard,
taste the standard. But like, I mean, they're really political at the time. Like Spider-Man, his trials and tribulations. Even the first two Marvel characters, Human Torch and Submariner, are very like opposite ideals. Of
the original Human Torch,
Human Torch,
not Johnny Storm.
Yeah, so kind of confusing. But Marvel, their first iteration of Human Torch was not Johnny Storm. He was kind of like a little bit like the all-American kind of hero. Maybe not all-American, but just very good hero. And while Submariner was kind of like one of the first anti-heroes, he was kind of a villain, but not really. And he was very anti most of humankind because he felt that the humans were pretty bad to each other.
The surface dwellers.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, and then you go with I mean, Superman can't not be political. Captain America can't not be political. X-Men, even though I derived
I'm never gonna say it. Yeah.
But it is still within the framework of the 60s. It is still like
a persecution story, a minority persecution story.
And, I mean, they also created Black Panther.
Yep.
Which, I mean, predates actually the usage of Black Panther as a political organization, but it was for like, speaking of Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, when she came out, the people were like, well, why does she have to be Muslim? Or like, why is that important and stuff like that? But like the actual, like when Stan Lee and I think it might have been Kirby, but when Marvel created Black Panther, it was specifically to fill a need because these white Jewish Americans were like, we don't have any black characters. We need a black character that speaks with that segment of the population. Also, that's respectable, right? That's like, I mean, it's not just because like most black characters are like pimps or thugs or some kind of criminal or something like that, or like people who are not in power. So they made Black Panther specifically
the king of
Wakanda, technologically far beyond advanced, always from the beginning. That's always been the thing. Now, if you read the old Black Panther comics, some of the drawings and the characterizations of Wakanda, a little bit iffy. But at least the through point,
the intent of
them being technologically advanced of the white man was very radical. It's the 60s, those kind of things. And Marvel and DC have always been like that. I used to have a poster on my wall, which is a Hulk cover that one of his best friends, this little boy or teenage boy, one of his friends in his universe, got AIDS, and it was like kind of hokey nowadays, but it was Hulk dealing with AIDS. He can't save her.
I think somebody references once about like there's a Green Arrow comic where apparently like one of his good friends is like a drug addict. And that was one of the first instances
you want to talk
where they
about,
talk about
you want to
that.
talk about Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Green Arrow is like an ultra leftist,
Yeah.
anti-fascist, like comic book character.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is the epitome of like political.
And the best part is that they allowed him to be that character in animated form too. So like when you had the Justice League cartoons, like they couldn't go all the way with him, but they did enough of it that you're like, they know what they're talking about when they talk
also
about the
like
character.
one of the greater examples of political comic books is they used to make a Green Arrow Green Lantern series. There were both of them together because they were both green, but they made them very different. So Green Arrow was traditionally more of the leftist, and he became more of that leftist liberal kind of socialist kind of thing, whereas the Green Lantern was always a little bit more right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of those superheroes that are like really high on the power level are a little bit right wing,
conservative.
Yeah, conservative. So they had a very like big like clash, and they were because they had different viewpoints of things like that. And there's a very famous comic book page where there's a elderly black man talking to Green Lantern, and he's saying like, you're out there trying to save the people from other planets and working for their rights and greenskins and those kind of things, but like I'm a black man in America and I can't really get by. What about the black skins? And a little hokey, a little on the dot, but comics have always been political.
Yep.
So I also encourage people to read Mouse. It's probably one of the best comics that I've ever read. It's a 2-part book. I read it when I was maybe 8 or 9, and that was my first exposure to what the Holocaust was. It's a very good framework of how that comic is done. Art Spiegelman is in the comic, and he's talking to I believe his father about World War II and their trials and things like that. They're all pictured as, all the Jewish people are pictured as mice, and the Germans are cats. Yeah, a little bit on the nose, but that sometimes art is like that. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. And that's actually my first, knowing what that was and going like, oh. Yeah, so it's a little intense, but it's very well written. Anyway, okay. So moving on from more serious topics, we're at the end of our show. We are over the hour mark, so we are going to make this fast. Question of the week, boyos. We just started a music channel in our Discord, and for video game music, tell me, what's your favorite video game music, Chris?
Nier Automata.
All right.
It's so good. They did the live concert and everything.
Do you watch the live concerts?
I did. It was so good.
too.
It's so good.
Did they play the shop music with the little robot kid?
I don't remember if that's in the concert or not, but I know it's in the soundtrack. I have that.
John, what's a game original soundtrack that you would recommend somebody to listen to that is not Final Fantasy VII?
Oh, not Final Fantasy VII. No, I'd say 6. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Final Fantasy 6.
Obviously for John, 6.
Or 4 or 6. 4 or 6.
Same thing, right? Same.
Yeah,
what about a non-square?
Non-square soundtrack.
Don't be silly, man.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of something recently where the game music has been pretty effective. I mean,
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
The original Tony Hawk Pro Skater had a great soundtrack.
Okay, fine. I'll let that go.
Goldfinger Superman is a good song.
Yes,
but no, actually, the real answer would probably be the DuckTales Moon theme is probably like the most iconic thing. Yeah. And the remix they did for DuckTales Remastered is really good. So
I'll rattle off my normal Streets of Rage 2.
It's a good one. It's crunchy.
Thanks for tuning in.
Super Nintendo.
How many are you gonna?
Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's the one stuff. you always bring up.
Yeah, Jurassic Park is that Japanese funky. Anyway, so we have come to the end of our podcast.
I'm 70 hours into Fire Emblem, and I'm just 2 months into the time after the time skip.
Thanks,
70
John.
hours?
70
hours. This podcast is going to be 70 hours if you don't let me finish it. Thanks, John, for joining.
I got to go back to school and have tea parties.
71 hours.
It's getting close.
Chris, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Dan.
And I am Dan P. And we are UniqueDrops.com. Ask for it by name. This has been your weekly Discourse. Follow us on uniquedrops.com,
Mm-hmm.
and at uniquedrops
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram. Do we have a underscore in between?
I don't remember.
Okay,
Is it at
We're gonna have
unique?
to get better at this.
Yeah.
But we have a YouTube channel. We have Twitter. We have
Uh-huh.
Instagram.
Sure.
We're now on Spotify.
Oh
We
yeah.
are on Spotify. Ask for it by name on Spotify.
Sure.
It's amazing.
Uniquedrops.com. They'll put anything on there.
I just downloaded the Dragon Quest 11 demo for the Switch.
Do want to play
It's
this.
at
pretty good.
unique_drops on Twitter, boys.
Okay.
At unique_drops on Twitter.
Yes.
And I don't know what the gram is, so because I'm
Let me
not.
see. I'll pull it up.
What is it on the gram, Chris?
Oh boy, we're gonna have to edit a bunch of this.
He's editing.
I don't
He's
know.
got
Vamp,
it.
I think it's just
Vamp.
unique drops.
Vamp, 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 vamp.
Oh, we clocked out. You already closed the show. This is just whatever
Vamp,
comes
vamp,
after.
vamp,
Yeah, this is what the
I'll do outro music and then we'll cut back.
you
into
fade
this.
it back in. Yeah, see, you're good. You're good.
Dragon Quest looks good. I like that. I'm hyped on that.
He starts talking about Fire Emblem. We start talking. Okay, anyway,
What have
so
you
I've
been
been
playing?
playing some.
We talked about what you played, right?
Yeah, we
You
didn't get to
playing
talk about
anything
what we
Because
played.
I actually fucking finished the game.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had thoughts on the actual
yes,
game
that's why we're
as a
doing this
whole.
afterwards. That's important.
Yeah.
That's why we put it at the top of the show.
I'm not gonna talk about Remnant next
We
week.
talk about 70 hours.
It's
I'm talking about
done.
a demo.
I've already finished the game. I'm gonna keep
you're not
playing
even gonna
it.
go back. Oh, well, then,
I'm gonna keep playing it, but I'm not
then
gonna
you're
talk
gonna
about
be
it.
Vinny Caravella and just start coming back. Oh,
Yeah, the weekly
week
Division
96
2 check.
No, I'm
of
not gonna
Division
talk
2.
about it again.
We can bring it up.
Because I finished the game. So
It's
I
a good
had
game,
I had
right?
an opinion
It's a
about
good
the
game.
game because I have completed the game.
That's good.
Mine was
hasn't-
just-
John's
mine was a
only
progress
70
report.
hours in, and he just hit the time skip.
2 months
So
past
we
that.
have at least 6 weeks of this.
That's why I kept it short. All I said was
148 hours.
just after the time skip, 70 hours.
I'm pretty sure that's a long time for that.
That is a long time for that.
Pretty sure people doing that at like 40.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
I'm
still
grinding.
long. Yeah, you are.
My characters are all like
Grinding.
mid-30s.
Ruining my show.
The show's over.
Yeah, this is...
None of them have to hear this. Nobody has to hear this.
Yeah, you want to make an editorial decision, just tell Chris to cut it out.
I'm not going to cut any of this shit out.
No, this is the good stuff. This is the
People
gold.
can listen to this if they want to listen to this.
Yeah.
It's like the end of the hidden track on the CDs.
Yeah.
You just keep on letting it play,
Exactly.
and then you're just
3
like,
minutes into silence,
Yeah,
and
when
then...
does this... And you look on your CD player and you're like, how much time is left? How long do these people talk?
or you put a Tool CD, and then it like all the track numbers start going. No. What they would do is that at the end of the last track, well, I forget which album it was, but like the track number started going up until like I don't know, like 100 something or whatever, or like 90 or 80, and then it would play like another song.
What?
Yeah, so it was kind of cool because you'd be like, wait, is there a hidden track? And then you just look at your thing, and so I wonder how they did it. They probably just
1
had
second,
yeah,
like,
like,
yeah.
so
Oh,
your
yeah.
track thing would just keep going up. It would just be like
Oh.
Incremental.
17, 18, 19, 20, and then it was like the first time you saw it, it was like, what is going on?
Should I break my disc, man?
I'm too high for
Can
this.
you imagine hidden tracks like that? Man,
You
can't
imagine
do that anymore.
albums?
You can't do that
Albums.
anymore.
Yeah, what are albums anymore?
Right? Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know when I download an album if I'm like actually listening it in order. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can never tell.
no, that's fair. But yeah, no such thing as hidden tracks anymore because you can see the whole list on your computer or your
Got to
phone.
bring rap skits back, Chris.
that's
Rap skits.
That's what we're trying right now. We're doing a rap skit.
What?
No, the rap skit is gonna
What do you mean,
we're
what?
gonna probably have to like. No, the rap skit is the formula is that like we meet up, say a bunch of like really bad
Yeah.
cuss words and like racial epithets.
It has to be in a car,
Yeah.
too, probably.
And then the next one is we're in the
Okay,
car
okay.
going somewhere
Yeah.
to do a job,
Uh-huh.
and then next thing we have is like, yo, you gotta fucking kill him. You gotta kill this motherfucker.
Oh.
You heard what he said? And then like John would be like, I don't want to kill him. You kill him, motherfucker, or I'm gonna kill you.
I keep trash bags with me.
Yeah, I keep trash back with me. And then it's like, boom, 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 And here's the next song, and then the next rap skit is like John being like, oh, I'm gonna kill him, and then it's just like blah 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 blah. Next song, and then the last song is just like
so it tells
just
a
like,
story.
I told you, motherfucker.
Wyclef John, the Carnival, had some of the best skits. I remember that. Lauryn Hill, or the Fugees. The Fugees album had a lot of good skits.
The sophomore album of Onyx, I forgot what it's called, but after Back the Fuck Up, they made another album, very bad. No other. Throw Your Guns and Slam was a long time away.
Okay.
This other one was a hellscape, but they had awesome skits. Well, I won't say awesome. It was awesome to a teenager because it felt edgy, and it was just a lot of people saying the N-word and trying to get other people to kill other people.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's because I wanted to think I was hard. I was not hard. I was very soft.
Growing up as a colored kid in America makes it so that you want to feel like you need to be harder. Maybe is that what we were looking for? Maybe that's
I grew up in Hawaii. It was different. We just wanted to act like we were like hard and in the mainland way.
See, I grew up in the suburbs with 97% white kids, and they had album you remember CD books, and it was full of every rap album. My parents wouldn't buy them for me, but these guys would have them, and just like I was like, man, I need to be harder because these guys are hard.
Yeah, listening to Cypress Hill for the first time with Sawed-Off Shotgun. Sawed-Off Shotgun, hand on the pump, left hand on the 40, fucking up shot.
You remember the first rap album you ever heard?
Probably a Run DMC album. Forget which one. Christmas in Hollis, Queens.
My dad was into Ice-T for some unknown reason. So
Yeah,
I heard early
That's
Ice-T
from your
stuff.
hood, right?
I mean, L.A.
Long
I'm
Beach,
Orange
right?
County. I'm Orange County, so that's
Okay.
it's close.
No, Ice-T's from
New York.
East Coast.
Yeah.
I always thought he was.
No, he's gangbanging in New York or L.A. though.
I mean, he did Colors. That was set in L.A.
Yeah,
But I think he originally came
out
up
He's
in
from the
East
East
Coast.
Coast.
Yeah.
He's from the East Coast.
But he came out to the coast.
Right, he did. He was in
yeah.
the military, and then when he got out of the military, he went to the West Coast.
Yeah, he wanted to be in Colors, but Oliver Stone didn't hire him, so he did the soundtrack.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I used to be able to recite that whole song.
Mm-hmm.
Colors.
Just do it.
That and LL Cool
We can
J.
get LA,
My dad
we
was
never
into
die.
both of them for some reason.
Hello, Cool J. Dope.
Hey, LL Cool J was cool.
I have vague recollections
ladies
of him
love
listening to that.
I didn't hear
It was weird.
an rap album until I was 8. It was The Chronic. And my older cousin just put headphones on my head and pressed play, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
That was a good one, though.
There was a lot of those because I had two older brothers, so they were exposed to stuff, and then I was exposed to that. So yeah, it was like Run DMC, LL Cool J, Grandmaster Flash, Big Daddy Kane. See,
I didn't come to any of that until I was much older because I got.
Yeah, my older brother, the older one of the eldest one of us of the boys, he was really into it. They actually saw Run DMC when they came to Hawaii, and then so like I kind of got some of that, and then later on I met one of my friends in the neighborhood. Oh no, and then all of the kids were into like the rap hip hop stuff. So like like ABC, Another Bad Creation.
Yeah.
Belle Biv DeVoe. Oh man, I remember. For some reason, people had this thing that they did in my neighborhood where you would start Poison, and then the other person would start another tape deck with Poison, but like 10 seconds later. So like when they would sync up, it'd be like Poison, Poison, and the other Poison, and then there would be like 3 tape decks doing that, and I don't know why we thought that was cool. And then also there was a lot of CNC Music Factory, because that was the time.
Gonna make you sweat.
I got hit with crisscross a lot because my name's Chris. That was dumb. I hate that.
There was also what is that called? Snap? What did they? I gotta look that up. There was that. we were really into Another Bad Creation, ABC, because that Aisha song talked about playing Nintendo. We played Nintendo, and then so that was pretty cool. And then there were kids, so it was like, oh, it's like us, but they're like fucking girls, so like that's cool. I was really into Ice-T, especially because of New Jack City, and then Ice Cube, and then NWA blew up, and then became when I first heard a NWA tape, it really felt like I shouldn't be listening to this. This is bad. Because also one of the songs was called "Fuck the Police," and it was like, oh.
I'm so jealous. I did not get exposure to any of that.
Yeah, because We Kids was wild. But yeah, my friend Mitchell, who was my good friend, I would say even up to now. We don't communicate too much, but when we see each other, it's like old times. But he was way into the rap tapes because his mom didn't give a fuck, so he just had all of this shit. Especially when he went, so we introduced him to, like, rap and especially gangster rap, and then Chronic rolled around and stuff, and so he just had everything. Because his parents didn't listen to, like, I couldn't play my shit too loud. Like, it was okay if I played stuff as long as it didn't have too many swears and it wasn't in the car. Like, as long as my mom didn't really hear it, it was fine.
Right.
Like, I could just play whatever. But yeah, and then, like, borrowing, like, Cypress Hill, Onyx was big in my hood. For whatever reason.
I'm jealous.
I love this dude named Domino. He had this one song. I gotta look this up. It's one of my favorite songs. It comes up on my Spotify playlist, and I get so happy.
It's one of the ones you stop and you're just like, I'm gonna listen to this now.
Yeah, and then Chronic blew everything up. Because it just was really cool, and it was cool because everybody thought Dr. Dre's dead. Like fucking after NWA, like Ice Cube's the only one coming out of that stuff.
Right.
Eazy is kind of corny now, and then like everybody forgets about the other guy.
MC Ren.
MC Ren, yeah, because they didn't do anything afterwards. But then Dr. Dre came back and just was like, whoa, this is so badass. This sounds so different than the New York sound, and it sounds cool. And who's this Snoop Dogg guy?
Yep.
And then they got real beef, and it felt like real. They had beef, like Dre Day with against Eazy-E, and then there was that one shot in Boys in the Hood, man, went wild. There's that guy walking down the street, and he's got the Easy Does It shirt for Eazy-E.
Yeah. He's
He's walking down the street, and Ice Cube and his homeboys like fucking jack his shit up. They pull his chain, they throw a trash can on him, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, it's about that. About the thing." And then all the movies started coming out. Boys in the Hood, Juice was rad.
Don't Be Menace.
Colors was cool, but like, man, you watch Colors now, kind of rough. Also, gangs were a little different too, though. They're a little different back then in the mid early 80s. Gangs were a little bit different. Although actually I don't know, because like LA was really becoming like crazy in the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan's done.
Oh, are we still recording?
You should stop recording, Chris, because
All right, Dan's bailed.
Dan
There you
officially pulled the ripcord.